The Hawks were so disappointing this season, but they have a ton of cash to spend this offseason.
I don't know if you've ever seen $100,000, except maybe in the movies.
No, more than that. Way more than that.
Huel.
Yes!
Hey.
There you go. The Hawks could play it safe and keep getting young talent, but they're tired of losing. After an awful start this year, Trae Young was emotional in the locker room, and a front office person promised to, quote, get him some more help on the roster soon. And they weren't talking about Clint Capella. The trick, though, to improve this roster going forward is to not go overboard. They aren't some contending team that needs one big piece to win and they should trade away their future. They need to make smart moves to set them up to become a contender. And in this video, we're gonna break down what the Hawks are working with this offseason and what moves they should make. Hey, it's Casey, welcome to AM Hoops. Welcome to another Offseason Wednesday. And the way this works is, we go through all of the teams that have been eliminated. We've got a playlist up above. We are counting them down, getting ready for the NBA Orlando bubble to start with all the teams still in it. And speaking of getting ready, if you want to support the channel, get an F3's Ben Simmons shirt. Everyone in the world wants this guy to shoot threes. He somehow still dominates without it. Every offseason Wednesday starts with the basics, so let's run it down with the Hawks. Their draft pick, they've got a 12.5% chance of picking number 1, but most likely they will pick 6th. Cap space, $49+ million, the most in the NBA. Their needs this offseason, shooting, a second playmaker, and defense. They're relevant free agents. They have a ton, but let's just say Vince Carter, Jeff Teague, DeAndre Bembry, and Charlie Brown. Yes, they have a guy named Charlie Brown. All right, let's talk the draft before we get into trades and free agency. Now, the question is, should the Hawks keep their pick or trade down or out of this draft? If they want to keep it and somehow win the draft, they should take Anthony Edwards because of his secondary playmaking and defense. LaMelo Ball would be another great passer, but his defense is awful, and he would take the ball out of Trae's hands too much. If they pick at 6, though, which is most likely, they should take Deni Avdija, who plays well without the ball and took a big leap defensively this year. I think, though, they should absolutely trade this draft pick. Look, they don't need to get more young players. They have plenty of those. Like I said earlier, Trae Young, he's ready to win now, so they should get to it. And trading this draft pick is going to be a big part of this offseason when we're talking about trades. But first, there are 2 big decisions they need to make. And the first is coaching. Lloyd Pierce is in the final year of his 3-year contract, and there was serious tension between him and Trae Young this year. When Pierce doesn't have the best relationship with his biggest star, that could be a problem. For example, after one bad loss this year, the coach said they didn't compete.
I don't know what to teach. You can't teach effort.
Trae Young shot back with, well, that's his opinion. When Trae was left off the Team USA Olympic roster, the coach said he wasn't surprised because other guys in the league are great too. After that, Trae tweeted, that's interesting. So, the Hawks need to decide, do we extend Lloyd Pierce or hire a new coach? Pierce coaching without a contract extension is an awful idea. Can you imagine if they have another bad start to next year? Players aren't gonna listen to him or respect him. They know he's gone after that year. I think they should give him a new contract. Moving on from Lloyd Pierce would send Trae Young the message that he's doing everything right, that he calls the shots. Instead, I love that Lloyd Pierce gets pissed off after bad games, that he holds Trae and his teammates accountable for their bad defense and lack of effort at times. They don't need some coach that's gonna coddle the young stars. They need someone that will help them grow. The next decision here, what to do with John Collins. Collins is eligible to get a contract extension this offseason. So do they extend his contract, play out the year, or trade him? This sounds easy, right? Extend him. He's gotten better every year. A face of the franchise. Actually, John Collins thinks even more of himself. He said recently, quote, I definitely feel like I am in max contract contention. If I finish this season averaging 20 and 10, the other guys who are averaging 20 and 10 are max caliber guys. And he's right. The only other guys this year who averaged 20 and 10, Karl Anthony Towns, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But really, he's wrong. There's no way John Collins is even close to that level of player. All those guys are max level. They can take over games. They dominate scoring the ball, playmaking. True max guys have at least above average ball handling. John Collins is not that. So if he thinks that he is that, you can forget an extension. So that leaves playing out the year or trading John Collins. Now, if they play out the year, the Hawks risk someone making a huge offer next offseason and stealing him away if Collins takes another jump. They could match any big offer, but it's still a risk. The option they should take is trading him. John Collins is the most valuable trade piece they have. If the Hawks want to improve enough to be a playoff team, they can get there right away if they move John Collins. So now let's get into trades and free agency, starting with free agents, because the Hawks can get basically anyone they want with all that money. However, this is a bad free agent year. Not a great list, but here's who would realistically fit on Atlanta. First, Brandon Ingram. The Pelicans have a lot of young talent. If they think giving Ingram a max contract hurts them from keeping everyone later on down the line, then maybe the Hawks can pounce. He would fit on this team too, next to Trae, DeAndre Hunter at the 4, Clint Capella, and whoever they have at shooting guard. Ingram can create his own shot, but he still complements Trae Young. He's just 22 years old too, so that timeline works, but his defense is still lacking. Next, Fred VanVleet. He fills several needs here. A secondary playmaker, a proven winner, and a good defender. Like I know Trae Young with VanVleet would be a small backcourt, but VanVleet can guard either backcourt position. He can also hit the 3, which makes him a great option for the Hawks, but he is far from a final piece. They would obviously need to add a lot elsewhere. Bogdan Bogdanovic. I'm a fan of this move because he is one of the best shooters available. He can be a secondary playmaker and he is a plus defensively. Look, I don't care that he would take away minutes from Kevin Huerter. I think Atlanta should trade Huerter. Bogdanovic can do everything Huerter can do, but at a higher level. Kevin Huerter's a bad defender too. The issue here is the Kings traded away Dwayne Dedmon back to the Hawks to keep Bogdanovic, so that's a priority. It could take a huge offer to land him, but like I said, the Hawks have the cash. Joe Harris, a more realistic option over Bogdanovic. Now he can also shoot and defend, but he is not a playmaker at all. He could be available though. The Nets have not said that keeping Joe Harris is a priority. He would be a complimentary piece as a free agent in Atlanta. Next up, Jordan Clarkson. Now this is a player that can get a bucket whenever he wants, but also he doesn't mind coming off the bench. Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter were really bad to start this season, but they were playing well by the end of the year. Clarkson can be that sixth man who also doesn't take away minutes from the young, improving pieces. So if the Hawks signed any one of those guys and made a big trade, they would absolutely be a playoff team and maybe even win around next year in the postseason in the East. So let's get to these trades. And first thing is, there is no Devin Booker here. I've seen that trade out there, but he would cost way too much, and he is not like that missing piece for the Atlanta Hawks. These three trades, though, make sense in every way. Number 3, Jrue Holiday to the Hawks for Dwayne Dedmon, Kevin Huerter, and the salary of their 2020 draft pick. Jrue is a veteran who is good enough on both ends to push the Hawks over that playoff edge while not costing too much in a trade. They trade a high first plus Kevin Huerter, who is replaced by Holiday as a starter in the backcourt. Look, I know Jrue doesn't fit their age timeline, but Atlanta does not want to pull a Phoenix and not put this level of talent around their young star like the Suns did with Devin Booker. Trade number 2, Marcus Smart to Atlanta for Dwayne Dedmon and 2 first-round picks. This is a younger and potentially better version of trade number 1. Smart was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate this season. He had his best shooting year from 3 as well. Smart fills so many holes for the Hawks, it's almost a perfect fit. Look, I know Celtics fans hate to give up a fan favorite, but they do this to flip a good bench player for depth. 2 probably high first-round picks is exactly what Boston needs, so I think they go for it. But trade number 1, Draymond Green and a 2021 first to Atlanta for Dwayne Dedmon and John Collins. Now this is a blockbuster trade on both sides. The Hawks get one of the best defenders in the league who is a proven winner and a low first-round pick too. Draymond can shoot from deep, though he has slacked recently, but he is a fit on the court here, especially with John Collins out. Draymond could be an anchor defensively, and he could even start at center in the small ball lineup. The Warriors get Collins as their front court of the future as a rim runner with the Splash Brothers. The Hawks were supposed to be one of the more exciting young teams this year. Instead, they were the 4th worst team in the NBA. And all that losing is creating a negative culture and really wearing on their more talented players. They have to start winning sooner rather than later. The good news though, if you're a Hawks fan, is they have plenty of tools to at least compete for the postseason as soon as next year. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.